Hello there and welcome to another My Little Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Bree. I'm here with my brother Bryson.
Hello.
And my sister Shay.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking to you about the latest weekly peek where memory, here we go, we painted my room. And then Bryson, and then Garen and Ellie, they finished their hearth.
Yep.
It was a pretty eventful
awesome.
week. Yeah.
Cool.
So
There's okay, I have to say this. You may have just saw it. There is a fly who is apparently loving that camera right now. And they're probably walking over the lens.
Oh,
or
sorry.
a bug. I don't know if it's a fly or bug. I don't know. It's some sort of bug phone right now.
This year we've had more. It seems we have more. We've had a little. I mean, we've always
more
had
bugs.
We have usually
than
one
usual.
bug every year that is more aggressive than other bugs. And yeah. So anyway, okay.
I don't know if it was I think that's some sort of like.
So I thought
bug of some
before
kind.
we got into the wonderful comments and questions that were posted on that weekly peek, and I think I have one from our popcorn one that we did as well.
That's true.
But before we get into that, I thought that we'd start off today's
adventure
podcast with a little story.
You know those moments in life where you're like, you read one thing and you interpret another thing?
Okay, no, let's back up even before that. That's a nice little tidbit to get us in. But okay, so we're managing the homestead here
Without our parents. Which is fine.
We're
We normally
adults. We can handle it. Not a big deal.
I mean, we can't watch PG movies because there's no parental guidance.
We're stuck to G, but
it's okay.
But that's all right.
But it's fine, you know. So we thought we would be all trendy and do some food prepping, which to give you an idea of what our version of food prep is just make a big meal, slap it into like a few containers and stick it in the fridge.
And then we have it throughout the week.
Yeah, it's not the whole pretty food prepping.
In our like our defense.
Yeah.
Our first food prepping job was sushi for 1 week.
It was
It
so
worked beautifully.
So
it was
perfect.
awesome.
It was so
we're like,
perfect.
okay, this week we're going to prep a huge batch of something for this week. And
Shay,
we did choose something.
Did you remember now? Do you know what we did?
The sushi.
No. For this week, do you know Because me and Bryson were left to our own devices. Do you know what we made for the food prep?
Yeah, you made the cream of broccoli soup.
Okay, so she's absolutely right. That's
She's not
what we
wrong.
went for.
That did
what
come
we
out
were going
throughout the
for,
process.
but that's what we were intentionally trying to make.
Yes.
We had a different version of what we thought cream of
We
broccoli
ended
soup
up with
was,
actually 2 bulks, 2 food preps, 2 items.
Yeah, we had 2 items. Okay, so Bryson,
We went to make one, and we ended up with 2.
Bryson, you'd have been so
3,
proud of him. He was
2.
going through. He found the recipe.
Found the recipe. We picked up all the supplies.
Yeah.
Now, in our defense, we're actually thinking of like broccoli cream of cheese or cheese broccoli or something.
Cheddar broccoli soup. Yeah.
Yeah.
something like
Cheddar
that.
broccoli.
Cheese and broccoli soup.
Cheese and broccoli.
We're like
Is
it's
that the
nice
one?
and cheesy and broccoli and fluffy and
It's our favorite
creamy
soup.
and
Yeah.
just,
Our favorite
delicious.
soup we don't know the name of,
We
apparently.
don't know the name.
Yeah, apparently
Well,
not.
when I did a research, I searched cream of broccoli.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that there was like
Plot twist,
a
different kind of soup, but that wasn't even the really the plot twistiest part of the part of the plot.
When the instructions called, you put all the ingredients in, and then you use a blender and you blend it up.
Yeah.
And then there's another thing you make with milk and a little bit of flour to make it thicker, and then you pour that
The creamy
into,
part of the cream and broccoli.
Yeah, like the creamy part, and then you pour that into the mixture and you mix it all together and then serve it. And I was looking through the instructions and I read 3 cups. So I thought
Of flour.
3 cups of flour
That's what
that goes
Bryson read.
into the milk mixture on the stove. And I was like, 3 cups of flour. Okay, now we were making a double batch.
Yeah, food
So we're
prep.
like, okay, six cups of flour.
Yeah.
So I tell Bree, 6 cups of flour goes in. I think you even double checked.
Okay,
You're
so
like, 6 cups of
he says
flour?
6
And I was
cups?
like, yeah, 6
I think
cups.
in my defense, I went 6 cups, and you're like, yeah, and I was like,
6 cups.
that's a lot of flour. But I'm like, whatever. I just start plopping
Mind
it
you, in 4 cups of milk, because it was a double batch.
Yeah.
So 4 cups of milk and 6 cups of flour.
Oh
Which
my
now that I
God.
think about it, it's just
So
a recipe
I'm
for
pouring
disaster.
it in, and I've got all 6 cups in there. I'm pretty fast, you know. And okay, fine, and get it in there. And as Bryson is stirring it, it is turning into
thicker
dough.
thicker mixture. And I look at the instructions, and we were saying this later. Why didn't it have on the instructions that says if it goes too thick like dough, you've gone too far?
If it's turned into dough, it's too far.
There's too much flour.
But anyway, so we had to calibrate. We had to
really... And, like, we did not use just any regular flour. We used the nice sprouted wheat flour, which is, I wouldn't say it's, like, really that expensive, but it is a little more pricey than regular flour. And so we just jammed it in there, and we're like, oh, no. So we remake it with barely enough milk, may mind you. Like, barely enough milk for that.
Yeah.
And then, so now we're stuck with this dough that's milk and flour
and butter. I think
there's butter in there too. And so I guess I kind of was like, well, I guess I could make that into like a bread. Like,
I don't know if it's
bread
is
similar to that.
When you make a banana bread, that consistency.
So
that's what it looks like.
I treated it like a bread. I thought, okay, we need a little bit of sweetener in here.
You did good.
We need some yeast to make it rise. So I added that all in. We're like, I need a little more flour to make it a little more doughy. It's still
it's very
weird. Doughy. And I was like, I need to get that to activate. So I put it in the oven to kind of warm it up a little bit to get the yeast to activate. And it did actually swell like half its size. It did swell. Okay, there is air pockets in there. So we're really just going to have to see.
We're going to have to see.
I may have invented the best bread in the world or the worst, one of the two.
So, the best things are made from accidents.
I think I even added a little salt, too.
Yeah. Oh, a little salt.
Yeah.
He really Wait, I'm confused. The recipe told you how to make bread instead of soup?
Well,
they told us how to make a soup, and we made bread.
So you're originally supposed to put 3 teaspoons of flour.
Okay, it called for tablespoons, not cups.
Tablespoons. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We mismeasured that. When I read the ingredients, I
tablespoons. That's a little different.
I think it was teaspoons. I don't think it was tablespoons.
No, it was tablespoons.
Oh, it was tablespoons?
On Wednesday, we put out a Bree Barely Bakes, which was a review on sprouted popcorn.
Yes! Because after our cooking stories, you must be prepared to want to follow our recipes.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a barely part of the baking process that takes place, and that's where,
we
6 cups of flour comes into play.
You know what? I don't know. Someone commented or a group of people commented.
I should have.
I don't know, but like
there was all kinds of theories in that. I should have screenshotted.
And they were saying that when it sprouts, it's still in the shell. The shell's not busted yet, so it still can pop. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. That's how it can sprout, but not pop. But then the question is a sprout considered a sprout if it's not busted through the shell of the seed?
Why wouldn't it? Even if you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not there.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, well, it's an interesting...
Do trees fall in the forest?
Okay, so Jonah Briggs says, does it look the same as regular popcorn kernels? I would say it does. I mean, you saw.
So you could trick people.
They seem normal.
I was thinking
trick them into eating healthy.
I think I said this in the video too. I was thinking that when they did pop, they would have like a sprout, like a sprout out of the pop. They didn't.
You could plant a seed inside of a popcorn kernel and then grow it, and then there would be a sprout coming out of it.
How do you get the popcorn kernel? A seed inside of the popcorn kernel.
You gotta get creative. Don't ask me all these questions.
Cut it open.
Part of it is you making discoveries and going on the journey, bud. I don't know all the answers.
So, so on the Weekly Peak, we did some painting. We did some painting and some hearth making on the Weekly Peak. This is just a quick refresher. We had Joshua Wellen says, what do you think about painting the fan blades in Bree's room? And it's interesting that you should say that, Joshua, because when we were up painting the ceiling, I noticed that the upside, the back side that you can't see of the fan.
It's the reverse side of
the side
that we were currently using.
Yeah, so there's like brown on one side and there's black on the other side.
It's like a dark and a light. Some fans, I don't know why they like add that feature, which is really cool.
It's reversible. It's like, shirts. Those shirts, remember they got trendy, you'd have the reversible shirts.
I have reversible pants.
Oh.
I've never used the other side of because it's bright orange.
The other side.
I've
been waiting for the one side to get destroyed enough
yes, we're there.
that it constitutes to flip it.
No,
like
I mean, yes,
pants.
we are there though.
I don't think so yet.
There's not a hole. You still got some wear room. Okay.
Well, if you have a hole and it goes... Okay.
Okay, so hang on. Let me finish the fan. So I want to change the track light that's up there. We have it's like a cream colored track light.
White and misshapen. It doesn't have all the same things on it too.
Yeah, it's kind of organic like the rest of the room. But I wanted to do something different up there. I want to put another track light in there. I found a black one. So we Bryson and helped me take those fan blades off. We clean the other side.
Oh, now you're switching from the light to the fan.
To the fan.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take it, and they were on the brown side, so we flipped it so that it's on the black side, and that's a hope that the fan and the track light they're gonna kind of color match.
So to answer the comment, instead of painting them, we actually just flipped them around. And it was kind of odd on that because I went to flip it. And I looked at the fan blade, and usually they got the 3 screws or 4 screws sometimes up there. And I was like looking at it going, okay, I got to take the 4 screws out. So I start loosening one, and then I realized, the fan blade just pushes back and comes off. So then I'm sitting there and I'm pushing back, like, go. And then I'm like, well, maybe I just need to loosen the screws. So I loosen them up. It still won't go. And then I found out there's a little switch on the back of the blade. You push down and it slips over the top.
Oh.
So it took me a moment to figure that out. But I was like, and I was like, oh, wait.
Trying to do it by brute force alone.
The way things are engineered, though, it was
I watched you
engineered.
I was like, I didn't even notice you struggled with it. I was just like, man, he had those off in no time.
I was pushing on it. I was like, why is this not coming? I was like, and then I realized there was a notch for the blade to swap over and push up. And I was like trying to get it there. I was like, it's just not moving. And I thought maybe they were too tight on the thing, so I loosened them up. And
yeah, it was an experience. But
I found out there's a little switch on the back, which makes sense now because if you're thinking about it, I mean, if a fan blade's spinning around, it probably would stay on there. But just in case the fan fell backwards, it would fall off. So it makes sense that there's
engineering wise. I'm glad that adds up.
We've got bugs.
We have bugs in here.
So usually when it rains,
so hang on.
And we've had a lot of rain lately at our property, and when it rains, all the bugs come out.
Yeah.
When it rains, it really pours. I had a little creek flowing in the front of my house the other day, and there was in the last rainstorm we had blew at such an angle that you could walk on the other side of the house and not get wet. It was the weirdest thing. I was just walking like, whoa. And I have a window rattler and a little window in my room because every now and then it's nice to have the cooler in there. And it was open because I didn't quite get the wood in there, so I had cardboard up there to kind of temporary, and it blew off, and so it was just open. I'm like, rain is gonna pour through that, but I got lucky. The rain went on the other side of the house, so it was perfectly dry. I was like, beautiful.
You love to see it. It
was awesome.
The last time it rained, I was out doing some photography with a friend, and it started to hail, and there was this old, rusted out van, and we were thinking oh, perfect, we can get out of the hail. And it has this van has bullet holes through and through. And believe it or not, the first part was fine when it wasn't raining that hard or hailing that hard. Mm-hmm. And the worse it got, it started to come through bullet holes in the roof and through the side. Oh, no. So we're getting hit and we're starting to get really wet. And the storm sounds like it's horrible. Finally, we're like, you know what? We're just going to run back to the car because we have camera equipment.
Oh, no.
And we stuff it in his backpack. And so we make a run for it. And the second we're out of the van, we realized it wasn't even that bad. It was just because it was tin that it was
it sounded really intense.
So we're like, it's so scary out there. But
I think it's that same storm that hit us. We had penny-sized hail.
I know.
It was like marbles falling.
It was
from
like
the
marbles
sky.
falling from the sky.
It was scary.
It was crazy.
I think I have a little video of me trying to show it.
I think I have pictures
and I
and video
encroached
too.
in on it, and then I was like, oh, because I mean,
it was hitting you.
Well, I was afraid it was gonna. They looked dangerous.
Run out and do something. I ran out to do something, and hail was just like.
Oh wow! I was like,
it wasn't
somebody throwing rocks, because I was down at the bottom.
It was kind of at the beginning of it, so I got hit with a few. But
that's really aggressive. What is going on up there?
They smack you. They're like little BBs, or not BBs, but full on marbles. If someone would just toss a bin of marbles on you, that's what it felt like.
That's what it would have been. Yeah. Okay.
And then the other day, we had so many interesting storms. There was I would say, there was 2 strikes a second for lightning, or lightning.
Yeah.
No noise. But
yeah.
you could walk out there and have enough light to get around just from the constant flashing.
I was sleeping last night and it was like flash, 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 like all at once. You're like, whoa, and then all of a sudden be like,
that wasn't thunder, Bree. I was taking pictures.
You were taking pictures. So hang on. All right, let me.
Okay, let's go.
Spike Joy 9 says, Bree, I'm glad you like your room. Very airy colored choices. What ideas are you considering for your floors? And I don't want to be a party pooper, but I really like my floors. I like the texture of my floor, and
floors
color.
Are really
I don't mind the color. It's darker, but then now I have the ceiling lighter and the walls lighter, so it doesn't really bother me. It was one of the first cob floors, if not the first cob floor we ever did, and I just love that floor. So I'm hoping to just clean it,
repair it,
wax it, and be done. I'm not probably going to do anything to it.
The cob floors are super nice. Like they look hard and they feel that way, but they don't feel that way. They feel soft. Like when you walk on them, they just look hard, but they're really soft.
And out of all of the floors that we've done, that floor's my favorite. I don't want to mess with the texture of it or anything. I so enjoy that floor.
They really are nice.
To preserve it, really.
It's actually kind of interesting too. You can actually get different hardness of the floor by just changing the sand mixture you do in them. Because we did a lot of sand. Or adding more linseed also helps. But like in my room, we added a lot of sand, and I have a very hard floor. It's cob, but it's hard, and it's soft to walk on, but it's tough. You're gonna handle it.
I think the funnest part about walking on it is because it's not like tile, it's not a man-made thing, is that it's as level as we can get it. So it's not perfectly level. Mm-mm. And because of that, when you're walking on it, it is really like you're walking on the earth. It has small variations, and you can tell just, your foot molds to it a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's just... Have you ever had that where you walk on cement for too long, barefoot, and your foot really starts to hurt?
Yeah, the arch is like
flat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then if you walk outside, and it's sandy or something to your foot.
It's like the floor comes up to meet you and embrace you. Another thing that I really love about this floor is I have dented it. Like I've taken chairs and sat in chairs and it's put dents into the floor. Or when I painted it, I've painted it. This will be the third paint job. Yeah, and I painted it 2 other times. And I think that second paint job, I had paint all over the place. The floor, it re-goes back into place. The more you walk on it. And it's like, it's not soft necessarily. The floor isn't soft, but it goes back to its shape. Or things come off. It's incredible. That floor is so incredible. I want to try to
I even have like an end of it in mind, and it I don't know why. They just, for whatever reason, they just slowly kind of mold back together. They're like a slow moving carpet. Carpets have indents sometimes where you put furniture and you move them and then they slowly come out. It's like a slower moving carpet. It's very interesting.
I don't think I paid enough attention to my floor to have any experiences like that.
I don't know. I think it's just we had the perfect mixture on mine. Yeah, maybe.
All right,
we
what's
reached
our next
perfection with our first floor. Okay, so let's see here. Kevin Finkel says, Bree, your room looks like it was carved out of the inside of a blue marshmallow. How come you don't have a rocket stove? We actually had a rocket stove in there to begin with.
It was our first.
It was our very first one.
Rocket stove, I believe.
Yeah, and the ratios inside of it wasn't quite right, so most of the smoke came out of this end and not the top.
Yeah, it was kind of odd. Like when you build those things, we didn't know there was a ratio pattern or anything like that. Mm-hmm. We didn't really know until later, and you really do. If your burn chamber's too big, smoke will go out the back end, and if it's too short, it will get so hot it will melt the top of your container. Yeah. So you have to kind of there's actually
there's a ratio.
There's a science. You can watch some of our other videos. We did eventually figure it out.
We perfected it over time.
We did.
But that one, it was a standalone one. It was really cool looking. But it wasn't workable. So we ended up taking it out a year or two later.
We even tried to chop it down really hard to try to help. But
yeah, we did. We did a lot of things.
At one point, it melted the aluminum piping piece that you had. Remember? It melted that?
I don't remember.
Oh, by the way, if you decide to make one of those, they do get warm, so like steel or stone, because aluminum apparently melts. We had a little aluminum cap that you'd put on top of it, and it melted it.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I remember that, and it was pieces of
I just remember it was like we had taken I think, wasn't it like a water. What was the outside of it? Was it the size of like a propane tank maybe that we used?
It was a hot water tank.
Was it a hot water tank? And then we had taken it was an old saw blade, and we put that on top. Like you could heat up water on the top of it. It was so cool. I thought it was but it just didn't work as well as one would hope.
Yeah, now that I think about it,
we replaced it with just the fireplace.
We put the saw blade on there, but we forgot one fundamental law about thermodynamics.
Yeah.
When things aren't touching, they don't warm up very easily.
Oh, it wouldn't have worked?
So the saw blade was setting on top, but it wasn't against the metal, if I remember right. Yeah. So I don't know if that would have been very efficient.
Probably not. But the idea was there. That's
it is still cool, though.
All right. So our last question comes from Black Hat. On Garen and Ellie's stove, what is the box in the middle of the flue? Okay, so it's
box in the middle of the flue?
there's a box in the middle of the flue.
You know, that thing is epic.
Oh yeah.
It blows the hot air out, doesn't it?
So like with a lot of the normal stoves like that, or the normal fireplaces like that, all the heat kind of just goes up the chimney, and you lose a ton of heat straight up the chimney, right out to the outside world. You lose a ton of it, and so that little system goes on the chimney pipe, and it has little pipes that go through it that the smoke and hot air can flow through, and it warms it up, and then there's a fan on it that blows the heat from that out, and it's really to help with efficiency of your fireplace, and that thing works really, really well. I've always seen that. I've always thought that was the coolest thing. I don't know. There's probably a certain name for them, but yeah.
But yeah, that's what it does.
It's what it's designed to do.
Is anyone's guess.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
very cool.
Yeah, it goes on to help efficiency.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, we really appreciate you hanging out with us. It's always fun to be able to read and answer questions and hear your comments. And there's always so many comments. We can't get to all of them. There's so many wonderful and supportive, encouraging things. It's so fun to read. And we just really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to say something nice or constructive or whatever, offering suggestions. It's just so neat that you do that. So we really do appreciate it. We really appreciate you also being a part of our family and being part of the conversation. Yeah. We are going to, I don't know if we'll have a Wednesday video or not. If we can make it work, we will make it work. But if nothing else, we are definitely going to see you on Friday for another weekly peek. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.